Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Storyline English. I'm so glad you're here for this journey today. Find a comfortable spot and let's get settled. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to have a mind so powerful, so full of ideas, that the whole world could not understand you? Have you ever felt different from everyone around you? Like you saw things that others could not see? Today, we are going to travel back in time. We are going to walk through the life of one of the most brilliant and most forgotten men in history. His name was Nikola Tesla, and his story is one of discovery, of struggle, and of a light that never truly went out. So, take a slow breath, relax, and let the story begin. Our story begins on the night of July 10th, 1856, in a small village called Smiljan, in a land that is today called Serbia. It was a stormy night. The sky was full of lightning and thunder, and in the middle of that storm, a baby boy was born. His name was Nikola. His mother was a woman who loved to make things with her hands. She had no school education, but she had a beautiful mind. She could memorize long poems and build small tools at home. His father was a priest, a man of words and books and deep thought. Young Nikola grew up in a quiet house, surrounded by nature, animals, and the sound of the wind moving through the trees. From a very early age, Nikola was different. He saw pictures in his mind, bright, clear, moving pictures. When someone said a word, he did not just hear it. He saw it. He felt it. He experienced it like a small film playing only for him. Other children played simple games, but Nikola sat alone and watched the sky, watched insects move, watched water fall, and asked questions that no one around him could answer. His family loved him, but even they did not always understand what was happening inside his young mind. And perhaps that is where the real story begins, because sometimes the most important journeys start not in a great city or a famous school, but in a quiet place, in a small heart, full of questions. As Nikola grew older, it became clear that his mind worked in a way that was not ordinary. He could solve difficult problems without writing anything down. He did all the calculations inside his head. His teachers sometimes thought he was cheating because his answers were always correct, and he never showed his work on paper. But Nikola was not cheating. He simply did not need paper. His memory was extraordinary. He could read a book once and remember every word. He could look at a drawing and keep it perfectly in his mind for years. School was easy for him, almost too easy. But life was not always kind. When Nikola was a teenager, something very painful happened. His beloved older brother, Dane, died in a horse-riding accident. This loss broke something in the Tesla family. It broke something in Nikola, too. He became quieter, more serious, and perhaps more driven, as if he now carried not only his own dream, but also the weight of his brother's absence. He studied hard. He moved to different cities to continue his education. He studied physics and engineering with a passion that surprised even his professors. Electricity was a subject that pulled him in deeply. He read everything about it. He thought about it at night. He dreamed about it. And slowly, a great idea began to form inside his mind. An idea that would one day change the world. But the world was not ready yet, and Nikola still had many difficult roads to walk before that idea could become real. One afternoon, while Nikola was walking in a park in Budapest, something happened. He was reciting a poem quietly to himself, watching the sun go down, when suddenly, in his mind, he saw it. A complete vision. A rotating magnetic field, a motor that could run on alternating current. He grabbed a stick and drew the design in the dirt on the ground. Right there, in that park, on that quiet evening, one of the greatest electrical inventions in history was born. Alternating current, or AC, was different from the direct current that most people used at that time. AC could travel much farther. It could power entire cities. It was safer and more efficient. Nikola knew this with complete certainty. He could see it working perfectly in his mind before he ever built a single machine. He worked for years, first in Europe and then in America, trying to bring his invention to life. In 1884, he arrived in New York City with almost no money, a few poems he had written, and a letter of introduction to a famous man. That man was Thomas Edison. And this meeting, this one meeting between two brilliant people, would change the course of history. But not always in the way that Nikola had hoped. Because sometimes, when two great minds meet, they do not always agree. And what came next was one of the greatest scientific battles the world has ever seen. When Nikola Tesla walked into Thomas Edison's office in New York, he was young, tall, and full of energy and ideas. Edison was already famous. He had invented the light bulb, the phonograph, and many other things. He was a powerful man, and at first he gave Tesla a job. Tesla worked hard. He worked very hard. He improved many of Edison's machines. Edison once told him that if he could fix a serious problem with the DC generators, he would pay him $50,000. Tesla worked for months. He solved the problem. But when he asked for the money, Edison laughed. He said it was only a joke. Tesla was deeply hurt. He left Edison's company and walked away with almost nothing. But he did not give up. He found a new partner, a man named George Westinghouse. Westinghouse believed in AC power. He believed in Tesla's vision. Together, they worked to show the world that alternating current was the future. Edison fought back. He held public demonstrations where he used AC power to electrocute animals, trying to show that it was dangerous. It was a cruel and dishonest campaign. People called it the War of Currents. And in the end, after years of struggle, Tesla and Westinghouse won. In 1893, their AC system lit up the entire World's Fair in Chicago. Millions of people saw it. And in 1895, their power station at Niagara Falls began sending electricity across long distances for the first time in history. The world had changed, and Nikola Tesla was at the center of that change. After his great victory with alternating current, Tesla did not stop. He never stopped. His mind kept moving, kept searching, kept dreaming. He worked on radio communication before Guglielmo Marconi received the credit for it. He built a tower on Long Island called Wardenclyffe Tower. His dream was to send electricity wirelessly through the air, free for everyone in the world to use. Free energy. No wires, no cost. For everyone. It was a dream so big, so generous, and so far ahead of its time that the people who gave him money did not understand it. His main investor, a powerful man named J.P. Morgan, stopped sending money. Without support, the tower was never finished. It was eventually torn down and sold for materials to pay Tesla's debts. Tesla also worked on remote control, on early forms of radar, on X-rays, on turbines, and on many other ideas. Some of his inventions were stolen, some were misunderstood, some were simply ignored. As the years passed, Tesla became more isolated. He moved from hotel to hotel. He had very little money. The man who had helped light up the world was now living in the dark, in a quiet room, with only his thoughts and his pigeons for company. He loved pigeons deeply, especially one white pigeon that he described as the love of his life. It sounds unusual, perhaps, but for a man who never married, who had no family near him, that small bird gave him real comfort. And in those quiet, lonely years, Tesla continued to think, continued to dream, continued to believe. By the time Nikola Tesla reached old age, most people had forgotten his name. Younger scientists and inventors were receiving the attention and the awards. In 1915, many newspapers incorrectly reported that Tesla and Edison would share the Nobel Prize. But in the end, neither man received it. Some people believe they refused to share it with each other. Others believe it was simply a false story. The truth is unclear. But what is clear is that Tesla felt deeply unappreciated. In 1943, on the morning of January 7th, Nikola Tesla was found alone in his small hotel room in New York City. He had died during the night. He was 86 years old. He had almost no money. He had no family with him. The man who had invented the system that brought electricity to the modern world died quietly and alone. After his death, many of his papers and notes were taken by the United States government. Some were classified for years. His name began to slowly disappear from school books and from history. But something interesting happened in the decades that followed. People began to rediscover Tesla. Scientists, engineers, historians, and ordinary curious people started reading his story. And the more they read, the more they were amazed. How could a man who gave so much to the world be so forgotten? And why? These questions still do not have simple answers, but they are important questions, because they remind us that history does not always remember the right people at the right time. Today, the name Nikola Tesla is everywhere again. The unit of magnetic field strength is called the Tesla. A famous electric car company carries his name. His ideas about wireless energy are being studied again by modern scientists. His work on alternating current still powers nearly every home, office, and school in the world. Every time you turn on a light, every time you charge your phone, every time a city glows at night, you are living inside a world that Nikola Tesla helped to build. His ideas were not wrong. They were simply early. The world needed more time to catch up with his mind. And perhaps that is the truest and saddest part of his story. He saw the future clearly. He worked toward it with everything he had. But he did not live to see how deeply the world would one day need him. Tesla once wrote that the present is theirs, but the future is mine. He was right. And today, as we look at the technology around us, we see his fingerprints everywhere. In the electricity that moves through our walls, in the signals that travel through the air, in the quiet, invisible power that connects our modern world. All of it carries a little piece of the boy from the stormy night in Smiljan, who saw pictures in his mind and never stopped believing in them. And so, my friend, we come to the end of our story today. The story of Nikola Tesla is not just a story about science. It is a story about staying true to your vision even when the world does not understand you. It is a story about what happens when a mind is too generous, too honest, and perhaps too trusting in a world that does not always reward those qualities. Tesla did not become rich. He did not receive the recognition he deserved during his lifetime. But his work did not disappear. It lived on. It grew. And today, more than 80 years after his death, we are still talking about him, still learning from him, still amazed by him. And now, as an English learner, you have just done something important. You listened to a long and real story. You followed ideas, names, places, and emotions through time. You learned history. You practiced listening. And you did it all in English. That is your own small discovery today, your own quiet victory. Remember, every story you listen to, every journey you take through the English language makes you stronger, makes you more confident, and opens a new door in your mind. If this story touched you, if it made you think or feel something, please leave a comment below. Tell me what surprised you about Tesla. Tell me what part of his life stayed with you. And if you are ready for your next story, your next journey, your next adventure in English, then come back. Storyline English is always here, waiting for you, with another story, another lesson, and another door ready to open.